Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck,
Here.
Mr. Nice will let us know if you would not be able to make it. Ms. White, Mr. Fizikowski,
Here.
Chair North,
Here.
Mr. Radford, Mr. Volleson,
Here.
Vice Mayor McGuire,
Here.
Mayor Turk,
Here.
Mr. Holiday,
Here.
Mr. Lyles, Mr. Stovall,
Here.
Mr. Price,
Here.
Mr. Stewart,
Here.
Mr. Huber,
Here.
Mr. King.
Here.
We have quorum, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we move to item 3 on the agenda. Consent agenda items. Do I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda items, which is the approval of the agenda today? Action on the March 27, 2025 RVTPO minutes on pages 3 through 15 and the 2025 safety performance measures on page 60. We have a motion. I have a second. Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's have it. Consent agenda stands approved. I want to remind the policy board that the Commonwealth Transportation Board has scheduled a 6-year spring improvement meeting for May the 14th. It's at 4 p.m. to be held at the Holiday Inn Valley View on Ordway Drive. RVTPO staff will be present to offer comments on project needs in our region. And I encourage member localities to share your needs and ideas with members of CTV. I'm sure they'll be pleased to talk about since we didn't get anything that we asked for the last round of hardscape. So be nice when you address the Commonwealth Transportation Board, or you never will get anything else again. In January, the policy board authorized staff to apply for the Reconnecting Communities Institute, RCI, a technical support group that assists localities in building successful pathways to fund projects that align with the Reconnecting Communities, Thriving Communities, and other Department of Transportation programs. The RVTPO has been selected to move forward with that process, and staff will meet with RCI staff on Friday, May 2nd. If our application is successful, this should provide opportunities for RVTPO member localities to access free grant writing and project development assistance for a range of transportation projects. Moving on to item 5 on the agenda. Greg Campbell was named Director of Virginia Department of Aviation effective on February 14, 2022. Prior to his appointment by Governor Glenn Youngkin, Greg was the Executive Director of the Shenandoah Valley Regional Airport, a position he held for 30 years. A DOAV Director, Greg oversees a team of 35 professionals who grow local communities through economic development, serve the 65 public use airports across the Commonwealth, meet the transportation needs of assisted workforce development, and support the $25 billion aviation industry in Virginia. In addition to his daily responsibilities, Greg serves on board of Governor's Aerospace Advisory Council, the Virginia Commercial Space Flight Authority, the Virginia Resources Authority, the Washington Airports Task Force, the Virginia Small Aircraft Transportation Systems Lab, and the Virginia Aeronautical Historical Society. Greg is a certified member of the American Association of Airport Executives and a past president of the Virginia Airport Operators Council. He is a past president of the Greater Augusta Regional Chamber of Commerce, former chairman of the Shenandoah Valley Partnership, and recently served as a board member of Go Virginia Region 8. This time, I'd like to welcome Greg Campbell, Virginia Department of Aviation and the agency director, for a presentation today. Welcome, Greg.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Thank you. And it's a real pleasure for me to be here with you all today. I've been talking to the group for this Air Service Task Force folks. I think this may be the first time in quite a while that you've had aviation come in and talk to you. So I really appreciate the opportunity. And I hope that some of the information that I'm able to share today is helpful to you all. And And in a few minutes, I'll kind of go through our agency, what we do, some of our funding programs, and how we support the Commonwealth system of 65 public use airports. Can you go to the next slide, please? I have a short video, but if you play it, if we have sound. I'd like to start.
Aviation has been my life for 40 years.
Aviation means to me personally opportunity, creating that pipeline for future success.
Airports play a critical role in the economy by facilitating the movement of people, goods, and services throughout the nation and the world. The aviation industry facilitates employment and economic development in the broader economy through a number of key mechanisms.
There are so many different pieces to the puzzle of success, and the airport is one of those key pieces. They're not just a service, but they're a partner to us here in the Valley.
We are the busiest general aviation airport in Virginia, so creating partnerships is crucial. We want to be that welcoming airport that is open for business and welcoming to all who wish to use us.
One of the biggest efforts I've focused my time on since I've been here is to help understand how the airport and the local business community can better be served by the airport.
Airports are like small cities. Many of the disciplines and professions that are required to manage a city are required here at the airport. They are a vast opportunity.
We are entering an exciting era for aviation, where we will see significant advancements in transportation, aircraft technology, and advanced air mobility that will dramatically change how we travel and make that air travel even more accessible and affordable. I'm excited about the important role we at the Department of Aviation will play in facilitating these advancements in aviation for the benefit of all Virginia residents. Our aviation system, the Commonwealth system of 65 public use airports, the aviation infrastructure, and the people who make it work are second to none. Aviation is vital to every community across Virginia. We fly millions of passengers each year for both work and pleasure. We deliver billions of dollars in goods. We connect opportunities for growth. We provide more than 150,000 good-paying jobs. We increase access to critical services. We save lives. We improve the quality of life in every community. Who could ask for anything more?
That is about 2 minutes of an 8-minute video. I didn't want to bore you with the whole thing, but if I played it all the way through, you would see a little bit of Roanoke being featured in that. Next slide, please. Can I run this from here? Yeah. So just a little bit about the Virginia Air Transportation System. It is, as I mentioned before, made up of among other things, the 65 public use airports, but it's a very diverse system from small general aviation airports to our largest hub airports such as Dulles, Reagan National, and everything in between. It's a very mature system, as we discussed earlier today. Virginia has made a sustained effort to invest in airport infrastructure over the last 40+ years. So we have a very mature airport system. Our airport system, I believe, is second to none. It's extensive. It reaches all parts of the state. It's effective, and it is changing. This is a map that just kind of shows the distribution of airports across the Commonwealth. We have 9 commercial service airports if you include the 2 in Northern Virginia, Washington, Dulles, and Reagan National. The remainder are all general aviation airports scattered throughout the state of different sizes and capabilities. 3,800 based aircraft in the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth, the Department of Aviation, we own and operate 52 state navigate systems across the state. What is a navigate? So those are the things that aircraft use to access airports around the Commonwealth during winter weather. The instrument landing systems, weather systems. The FAA provides those at the larger airports like Roanoke, but at most of the general aviation airports they do not, and that's where we step in because it's all about access to the communities of the Commonwealth, and you have to have that all-weather capability. We also have 188 private use airports, 130 private heliports, many of those are medevac use, and 1 public use licensed vertiport. We were the first in the country to license a vertiport, which is a new term related to advanced air mobility. Part of of our planning and development and implementation of the state system plan for aviation, our driving metric is accessibility. We want the majority of Virginians to have close access to a commercial service airport or general aviation airport. We feel like this is imperative for all those variety of uses and benefits that were laid out in the video and I've discussed previously. And for us to do that, we need the majority of Virginians to live within close proximity of an airport. So that's really driven our system planning over the years and led us to a really good place where 95% of Virginians have access to an airport, either 30 minutes to a general aviation airport or 45 minutes to a commercial service airport. That's impressive as you look at a comparative analysis of other states across the country and how close their folks live to airports. Virginia does very well and sets us up for success in the future. Also, the economic impact, these numbers are a bit dated. We're working on a new economic impact study for the Commonwealth and aviation. These are actually 2017 numbers. We're doing an update to that study this year, and I think we're going to see these numbers surge considerably, but 146,000 jobs in the industry here in the Commonwealth, wages of $7.7 billion, and economic impact activity, that's a long number. About $25 billion a year is the economic impact of aviation. Total economic impact. A little bit about the Department of Aviation and what our agency does. So we're structured in the Transportation Secretariat. We are an executive agency. You can see we report to the Secretary of Transportation, and you can see the different modes of transportation that all report to the Secretary. One thing that's unique about Virginia, and I particularly like, and I think it's an advantage for Virginia, is the fact that our Department of Aviation is a standalone agency that reports to the administration. We're not a layered part of surface transportation or a larger VDOT type organization. We have our own autonomy and our own access to the administration, and I think that works very well. So our responsibilities is laid out in the Code of Virginia. Those are the chapters that relate to our responsibility to ensure safety, license airports, plan for a system, promote aviation in the Commonwealth. We're also responsible for registering aircraft and licensing airports and landing areas. So if there is a public landing area in Virginia, we do have the responsibility to make sure that those airports are safe and meet licensing standards laid out in the above chapter. We do provide assistance to cities, towns, counties, and other political subdivisions such as the Roanoke Regional Airport Commission, which is a political subdivision of the Commonwealth, in whatever capacity they may need. More recently, we monitor emerging technology issues for the Commonwealth. We manage the new airline service incentive fund. And another responsibility we have is all shoot is we operate the state's fleet of aircraft. We transport the governor, VDP, and their guests, cabinet, universities, and other state agencies that need to move about the state. Financial assistance to the airport. So there are really two main funds that we administer. The first is the Commonwealth Aviation Fund. The Commonwealth Aviation Fund consists of 1.5% of the overall transportation trust fund is dedicated to aviation. That amounts to about $35 to $40 million per year. We also have the Aviation Special Fund. The Aviation Special Fund is derived from a 5-cent per gallon tax on aviation fuels and aircraft registration. The Special Fund funds maintenance programs at all the airports, the facilities, equipment, the nav aids I mentioned earlier. Our general aviation airport security program is somewhere where the federal government does not provide support to our general aviation airports, and we step in and do it. Rural runway rehabilitation program and aviation promotion and air service development fund. Those all come out in the special fund. But a little more about the Commonwealth Aviation Fund, the larger fund. This money does flow to the airports. It's prescribed in the code how it is to be distributed. But it is administered by the Virginia Aviation Board, made up of 8 gubernatorial appointees that are advised by the Department of Aviation. Eligible projects we participate in here in Roanoke and across the Commonwealth traditional runway, taxiway construction, rehabilitation, land and easement acquisitions, master plans. Anything that is of non-revenue producing nature and relates to overall airport infrastructure or public safety. Funding ratios, it depends on the project. If the federal government if the FAA is participating, typically they'll provide up to 90% funding. We trail with 8% and a local match of 2%. In cases where the FAA doesn't step up, but we have the available funds and we see the need for a project, we do come in at 80% state and a 20% local match. Again, the funding ratios are based on the project type and whether the FAA is involved or not. We did pass a temporary funding program last year that's still in place, where we went from paying the 80% of the non-federal to 90%. And that was to accelerate airport development here in the Commonwealth, and we've been successful. Last year was a record year as far as investment made at Virginia's airports. You can see the trend, and you can see our work both through streamlining our funding programs and increasing the state share, and how we were able to accelerate those investments in the airports in Virginia. You see in 23 and 24 how those numbers jump significantly. I would also mention that over the last 2 years, you can see about $80 million in state investment. That is also leveraged. So getting back to that 98 and 2, about $150 million in federal money for airports here in the Commonwealth. This is the breakout by region. Each of the airports in Virginia are part of a region that's represented by a member of that Virginia Aviation Board. And you can see that Roanoke is in Region 2. I just wanted to touch on the future of aviation. There's some really exciting things happening in aviation, emerging technologies that are bringing about new platforms, new aircraft types, new propulsion systems, advanced technologies in the cockpits of the airplanes that will allow aircraft to have access to places they didn't before, or be able to move through the system in a more efficient way. And these advancements are happening very quickly. You may have heard about the term advanced air mobility. A lot of folks hear that term and they think about the platforms that's being developed, and it's really exciting, which is the electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. It's kind of like the Jetsons. And those are in development. We think it's going to be a little while before you're able to buy a ticket and get on one of those, but it is something that's coming in the future. And so we want to make sure that Virginia is leaning into this, and that we are preparing our system to handle these new technologies as they enter service, so that our citizens can benefit from them first. This slide shows one such aircraft being developed here in Virginia. This is a company called Electra Aero out of Manassas. They are developing a 9-seat short takeoff and landing aircraft that is a hybrid electric platform. Those are 8 electric motors along the leading edge and a battery pack. This aircraft can haul 9 passengers. This one's not. This is the 2-person prototype that they're out flying around for conforming standards right now. But it's headed towards a 9-passenger aircraft that will be able to take off and land at as little as 150 feet. This is the kind of technology advancement we're seeing. It's kind of on the bottom end of the scale, but even as it relates to commercial aircraft and larger business aircraft, we're seeing these advancements bring about transformational change, or at least the promise of it, here in Virginia. So what is AAM? It's really a broad encompassing term that ranges from small uncrewed systems, drones, to the multi-rotor vertical takeoff and landing, and short takeoff and landing passenger and cargo vehicles. Initially, these will all be piloted, but eventually I think we'll start to see some autonomy into the system, particularly in areas like cargo. The potential benefit to those of us that use the system is to provide new, more affordable services, not just to major markets, but to expand in all communities in Virginia. According to a study recently completed by the Virginia Innovation Partnership, the estimated impacts are significant of these new technologies and what they can bring to Virginia. You can see the numbers. That's why we're leaning into this, and we're making sure that Virginia is becoming a state that's AAM ready.
Our efforts at the department really are in two key areas: the policy development, and then on the infrastructure side, and making sure that our airports are AAM ready and that we can enable these vehicles once they enter service and they're certified by the FAA. Also preparing our airports for AAM and new propulsion systems. We've engaged heavily with the manufacturers of these aircraft. Some of the leading companies, Jody, you may have heard of, Electra, Archer, many of which are working in collaboration with some of the leading automotive industries to develop these technologies. Really exciting. So we've engaged with the OEMs to say, what is it that you're going to need in Virginia to enable these technologies? And really, it's quite simple. Initially, they plan to use the existing air traffic control system, but they're going to need three-phase power for the electric powered. They're going to need good broadband at all the airports, even the smallest general aviation airports, if we're to open those up, these new technologies, and community awareness. We worked with about 20 of the 65 public use airports that were deficient in the last year with a new program to get broadband and three-phase power to all of them. We knocked about 10 off that list, so we're down to about 10 of the very smallest. They're still lacking, but we're trying to position Virginia to take advantage of these technologies. The other thing Virginia is leading on, we started with our partners in Ohio, what is now nationally recognized as the AAM Multi-State Collaborative. We now have grown this to 36 states across the country. I co-chair it with my counterpart from Oregon. And this has become the organization that the FAA is leaning on to interact with the states and with us about how AAM will eventually work out. That collaborative is looking at things such as the scope and the role of states, like our Department of Aviation. Lessons learned as we all began to do pilot projects across the state. We have two that are getting underway here in Virginia. Policy harmonization across states, minimum viable infrastructure, current general aviation infrastructure. Most of the OEMs have told us, even if some of these new platforms can take off and land vertically or in short distances, they plan to make use of the existing aviation infrastructure. They're already out building new vertiports, new landing areas when existing infrastructure exists, particularly here in Virginia, where 95% of the population lives within 30 minutes of one of those facilities. Approaches to sustainable funding. Funding is always a challenge in aviation. There never seems to be enough money to go around. And economic and workforce development continue to be challenges for the industry. So that kind of wraps up my brief overview of the department, what we do, and our funding programs. We work closely with Mike Stewart's team here at Roanoke. We are here to support you and the Roanoke community and look forward to engaging at a higher level going forward. I'm glad to take any questions.
Thank you, Greg. Do we have any questions for Greg?
I have that one about that temporary funding. It's, I mean, you went exponential in the recent years. Any chance of that temporary status expanding on, or?
It's a really good question. So it's had the intended result, and it's slated to expire at the end of this year. It'll be ultimately up to the aviation board, those 8 appointees, whether they want to continue that or not. But it is absolutely working. We were seeing a case where, particularly for general aviation airports, where the difference between a 10% and 20% match was the project being built up. The FAA program, in terms of technical dollars, when you compare it to inflation, it's not kept pace. So the FAA program is not reaching as many projects in Virginia. So this allowed us to accelerate some of those projects that would have been sidelined and actually get them built. During the pandemic, a year or two after that, a lot of the airports really, so they parked their capital programs really slow. And now we're seeing this big resurgence, and there's a lot of need in the system. This temporary program allowed us to meet a lot of needs and political catch up. So optimistic of it.
Anyone else have any questions, Greg? Yes. Ma'am, go ahead.
Yeah, just wondering about your connection with maybe some of the universities in the state as far as research, but also workforce and, aircraft mechanics and pilots and so forth. Yes. Does the department work in any way with universities in Virginia?
We do. Sort of in two things. One is we have a education section of the department that is engaged with
universities and community colleges across the state, and so the education workers. We're involved at several different levels on the education front. The other piece with universities more recently has become around advanced air mobility. We have done 3 or 4 projects the last 2 years with the folks at Virginia Tech and their MAP through Mid-Atlantic Aviation Partnership. One of the pilot projects that we just kicked off with advanced air mobility is centered in the Roanoke Valley with MAP. They've been a huge asset. They're one of only a half a dozen FAA approved AEM test sites in the country. And so we've really been trying to take full advantage of the knowledge and expertise that's down the road at Tech.
Anyone else? Well, I got a question, Greg, just hypothetical question, and only it's in your opinion, we won't hold you to the answer. Let's say we had the FAA master plan approved today, and let's say that the state had the 8% already set aside today to match the cost of an airport runway extension here at Roanoke. How long would it take the federal government to provide the 90% that you mentioned and the 90-82? How long would it take, in your opinion, for that project to be on their capital project list in the future? Just an idea.
It's kind of hard to say because all the projects, even when approved by the FAA, they get, there's always way more requests for funding than there's funding. So they get ranked on a national system. And depending on where that project gets ranked, will depend on how closer it is to the top of the list. And then there's a lot of preliminary work, sure Mike has shared, that has to happen to sort of satisfy the FAA requirements in the early stages. The biggest step is a master plan. Folks have already done a great job with the master plan and demonstrating what's needed for that facility. And the second step gets into some more tedious work with environmentals, the cost analysis, that kind of thing. So there's some steps that have to occur to sort of get you in position. And then that project is thrown in and ranked. So depending on the ranking and what else is out there competing with it, we'll ultimately decide how quickly it happens. I think we're not knowing what the situation is.
Bottom line, it's going to take years to accomplish all
Big
of those.
projects take time.
Thank you very much. Anyone else have any questions? If not, we thank you very much for joining us today and coming over from Richmond. Look forward to conversations as we discussed earlier more frequently.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to agenda item number 6, which is amendment number 4 to the 2025 Roanoke Valley Transportation Plan. Item A, presentation of amendment 4 to the plan from pages 17 through 19. Chair welcomes Allison Stinnett. Allison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So today I bring to you all amendment number 4 to the Roanoke Valley Transportation Plan. I know recently we just did number 3, so this is number 4. So this item was brought to the TTC in March, and we had public comment period from March the 17th through March 30th. And the TTC has recommended the following information to be updated, removed, added to the Roanoke Valley Transportation Plan. So what the amendment is, there's these 3 projects. And the first project is the City of Roanoke Tinker Creek Trail Extension 2C Orange Avenue, Wise Avenue. This project is being amended due to major scope change, updating termini, and putting a total cost estimate. So this project has been on the SDBG financial plan for a little bit from the expansion of the Tinker Creek Trail Extension. All of the different projects. So that project is being updated. And then the second project is a request from BPRA The project was originally titled Virginia State Supported Amtrak Operations. But then they think that it was also known as Smart 22 I-81 CIP Intercity Rail Service. So this project has come before you previously. And the reason that it's being included in this amendment is because they want to remove it. So this project has changed so much over the life of the, funding and moving of ownership and just the general what the project is. So that is why they're requesting this to be removed. And then the third project is from Roanoke County, and this project is Layman Road to Glade Creek Road Railroad Crossing. And this project is being requested to be in the amendment because they want to add it to the priority projects to pursue list for future funding opportunities. So this is the information from the survey. So this is what one of the questions looked like. This was for the project number 1, the Tinker Creek Trail Extension. Sorry, it's a tongue twister. And so we had emailed the survey, and we had over 800 people that we emailed it to, TPC, TPO, commission, and our survey stakeholders list. We also advertised it in Cardinal News for the first time. And then it was also posted on the website as well as our social media pages. And we received 75 contributions. So we had 75 people participate in the survey. And then the demographics of the survey was predominantly white, but we had some other good representation from other races and ethnicities. The average annual household income was between 35,000 and 150,000. And it was pretty equal between men and women. And we had higher participation of between the 65 and 75 years of age. But we had 17 zip codes represented in it. So we're trying to expand our footprint a little bit of the feedback that we're getting. But we had like the 7 core zip codes represented. It was right. Our regular ones, I think it's in the staff report. And then these were the feedback on the 3 projects themselves. We tried to share the information that we had about the projects. So it was generally favorable. I know some of the projects we had less information than others. But do we have any questions about the projects?
Thank you, Allison. Any questions? There being none, I'll open the public hearing at this time under item 6B. Anyone online, anyone's fine to get out the census here? Anyone online? There being nobody, I will close the public hearing. Moving on to item C, consideration of the resolution approving the amendment 4 that just spoken to. Page 20 of the meeting package. All those in favor of the consideration of the resolution supporting this item. Need a motion. Yes, I need a motion. Do I have a motion? So moved. Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed. Ayes have it. The motion carried. Moving on to item 7, amendment number 4 to the FFY 24 through 27 Transportation Improvement Program. Allison Burnett.
Thank you. So this is essentially what we just saw, but just for one of the projects. I just wrote that, sorry. So the amendment for the TIP is just the VPRA project, so removing that. And then I wanted to share, if you all wanted, I know this is a lot of information, but so these were some of the reasonings behind the removal of the project. So as you see, there's a lot of things that's been happening on this project for the last 3 years. I don't know if you want me to read through it all, but I can if you would like me to.
You can give us the highlights.
Okay, so they've changed the alignment, who owned it changed, and essentially now this project is sort of transformed into what they're going to be doing in Blacksburg at the station itself. So it's not even coming within our TPO boundary area any longer. So that's essentially the gist of what's happened. But it will be in the New River Valley TIP, so it will be in theirs. So, but before, since it was titled as operations, that's why it came through us, and since then it's changed so much.
Yeah, they just had a groundbreaking today. For this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a part of the same public engagement process, same information in the survey. So that is that, and that's just the highlight of the project. So that is all.
Thank you very much. This time we'll move on to item 7B, public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this to the public? There being none, we'll move on to item 7C, consideration of the resolution on page 23 of the meeting packet. I have a motion.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. Move on to item 8, Surface Transportation Board, STBG, and Carbon Reduction Program, CRP, for FY 26 through 31, shown on pages 24 through 26 of the meeting packet. Chair recognizes Allison Bennett.
Thank you, sir. All right, so I know this is long waiting. But we were able to have a really good conversation at the TTC meeting this month, and we have been able to come up with a recommendation. So it's a lot, so bear with me. So the TTC is recommending the following updates that would be incorporated into the financial plan. So the first one is to accept the return of funds from the Walnut Avenue Bicycle Pedestrian Accommodations project of 292. And then the increase of funding for the Gus Nix Boulevard pedestrian bicycle crossing by 50,000. And then increasing the funding for the Roanoke River Greenway Ackerson Connector by 505,896. And then increase the funding of the I-581 exit to interchange improvements by 210,329. The addition of the new child project, which is the Greenway Phase 2, and they are going to be moving existing funding off of the Elizabeth Greenway to fund the Phase 2 project. So you would show that in the financial plan, the decrease from the Elizabeth project. And then addition of the out of cycle request of the brilliant FBRI access IAR study for 2.6 million. And the immediate funding of the 2.6 will come from the existing funding of the Tinker Creek Trail Extension Phase 2B, and then push their existing funding out to increasing the funding to 3.5 million for out years of FY 28 through 31. And then reassigning the UPC from Tinker Creek Trail Extension 2B to Phase 2C. So that is a lot, so I apologize. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions for these 7 items that Allison just spoke to? Also shown on the chart. Highlighted.
I just want to personally thank staff on behalf of the TTC. We had a robust discussion on all of these items. So some of these were requests that came to us, and then also a little bit of cleanup that staff was able to sort of propose in real time. So we think the 7 sort of items, they did a great job of sort of outlining what each one of those were. So hopefully this is both accomplishing the goals of the requesters, getting in the new requests, and doing some cleanup on the back end to save us all some work in the future.
Very good. Like you all able to do more than just 1 or 2 things. That's good.
7.
And you did it in how many hours?
Exactly.
Anyone else have any? Yes, Chair recognizes Mr. Bowles.
I guess I just wanted to thank the TTC for taking up the Carillion FBRI access study. That's right now in Roanoke. if you get off on the Elm Avenue exit, you know that it is pretty backed up and at max capacity. And you have people going to the hospital and FBRI from two separate on-ramps right now, there in Wanju. And so it leads to a lot of confusion and folks getting lost on their way to Carillion and stuff like that, causing more traffic in the neighborhoods. So this is a really great project because it's going to help us build out that FBRI area. And that's going to be we believe that's the economic driver of our area for the future. And so I really appreciate you guys putting that in there. I think it'll be very impactful and it's good to get that started.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate that. And I too would echo that while this is just a study, it's the beginning of a much larger project. And I would just like to hope and pray that we can get some money to the General Assembly, because I don't think Smart Scale is going to be able to fund a project of this size. Although I may be wrong, from what I've seen in the past, it hasn't had with great success.
Yeah.
Which means there's going to need to be a General Assembly effort in sometime in the future when we never cost the project. All right, having said that, is any more comments before we move on to the public hearing? Okay, is there anyone wishes to speak to item 8B, the public hearing?
No.
Okay, if that's it, we'll move on to item C. I'll look for a motion to consider the resolution approving this found on pages 27 through 28.
Move the resolution.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a second. All those, well, can do a roll call on this one.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Tuck,
Yes.
Mr. Fidzikowski,
Yes.
Chair North,
Yes.
Mr. Volleson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McGuire,
Yes.
Mayor Turk,
Yes.
Mr. Holliday,
Yes.
Mr. Stovall,
Yes.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mr. Stewart,
Yes.
Mr. Huber,
Yes.
Mr. King.
Yes.
It's a unanimous, that's unanimous.
Another great example of regionalism at work. You know, we weren't invited to our neighbors down the road to the groundbreaking today. We had airport visits, didn't we?
That's right.
Let's move on to item 9, other business. Is any other business to bring before the PTO? So other business, move on to item 10, comment period by policy board members of the PTO and the public. Mr. Stewart?
Mr. Chair, I'll just offer a public service announcement. If you're flying this weekend or anytime probably right through the graduations of the area universities, parking lots are full this morning when I left. We're running a overflow lot with a shuttle. Basically, you just continue on along Aviation towards the old terminal location and you'll see it up on the right. But running a bus back and forth, same price as the economy parking lot. And we hopefully won't run out of overflow parking, but it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it is.
Have they finished the paving?
No.
Okay, thank you.
You just had to stick me, didn't
Last time I was there.
We should be hopefully finished with that project by June.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll just update briefly. I don't have anything specific to update, but the Greenway Commission is continuing its transitional study regarding replacement of our coordinator, I think is the title that is officially used. And we've made good progress on that. We've had interviews with each of the localities. We've had interviews with other affected constituents, and we're trying to put together a series of options and proposals that we can consider and move forward with. But just want to update you on that.
Thank you, Lee. Anyone else have any business?
Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Fidzikowski.
if I could maybe try to soothe the hurt feelings, the TPO not being invited.
I couldn't
To
do
the-
two places at one time, so I'll forgive you.
Well, the very limited space that was there, and I think that was the reason why it wasn't
Oh, that's all.
was spread out to everybody else. But I will say that the ceremony went very well. A lot of good speakers that basically talked about the 13 years that this has been in the works to get a train station back in Christiansburg, where it had a booming train business back in 79. And even though that seems like a long time for a lot of you, it's not that long for me. But it went very well, and we're really looking forward to being able to jump on the train like you all do here in Roanoke. So,
I know.
Looking good.
Anybody else? Keith?
Just to reiterate again, the May 14th, 6-year plan public hearing in Holiday Inn Valley View at 4 p.m. So put that on your calendar if it's not already there. And also May 7th is the Metallica performance up in Virginia Tech. So I don't know about the airport activity on that date. I would expect it to be pretty robust. But
We have a charter full of roadies coming in, what I understand.
yeah, it interestingly is probably the largest public gathering of Tech history. So larger than any of our football games, because wow, it'll fill the field and the stages. So it's going to be a big event.
the stage is 100 feet tall. They got to bring in, they have to remove some of the sprinkler systems in the tunnel to get the crane to fit through it to assemble it.
Would it be running through the tunnel with smoke?
But it will definitely, it's something to be, aware of, certainly as you travel between the Roanoke and River Valley. It's going to be a big traffic related event that state police we are planning for, along with the coordinators at Virginia Tech. So,
Will they be tailgating in the parking lot?
I think there's the expectation that there'll be a considerable amount of that of people that don't actually go in, but are actually just in the parking lot areas. And they're going to be doing a lot of, there's obviously going to be a greater demand than they've got parking in close proximity. So I know they've got shuttling operations going on as well. So it's going to be certainly a big event, and just be aware of it. That's all.
Kind of like Jimmy Butler concert.
Yeah.
Question on smart scale. Have you heard any discussions about other regions advocating for changes to smart scale scoring since round 6?
So there is a process that typically takes place as they move toward the CTV taking action on smart scale, where the Office of Intermodal Planning and Investment goes around the various districts and meets with the board members, and certainly there is discussion about the results and what seemed to raise questions and things of that nature. You might know every year there's tweaks that take place. So I would certainly expect something like that in the coming year.
I hadn't heard anything on Northern Virginia per se. That's why.
That's fair. No report to provide from me on that. I don't know.
I'm going to be in Williamsburg Friday and Saturday. I'm going to take the pulse of some of our Baco representatives from the Northern Virginia area to see what they have to say. Thank you. There being no other business before the commission, got another comment.
Good. One comment relative to
Frank
the
County over there. What do you have to
CTV
say?
meeting. Will you or Mr. Holmes be presenting any comments on behalf of the TPO? I'm just, one suggestion I would make is the 220 study, if there was some support for advocating for trying to get some funding next year for that 220 study.
Yeah, certainly,
Have some.
myself or Mr. Robertson will be presenting, maybe both of us as staff, and Chair North is always there early. So I'm sure he'll offer comments both on Roanoke County TPM.
We understand. Well, $4 million wasn't approved, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if General Assembly's business has been settled yet, so the governor hadn't made his final comments to them.
I don't think it made the final budget. I think from what I understood from Mr. Austin was that maybe it was presented, maybe it's a little too late in the process. So the thought is if we can get out ahead of that a little more this year, maybe we have a shot.
It may be, it's a new budget next year. We don't know what's going to pull through for next year either, right? Thank you. There be no other comments, I entertain a motion.
I've got one comment. Can you see me?
Yes.
No, I don't see you.
Okay, well, this is kind of like on the verge of Metallica coming to Virginia Tech. But I'm here to promote the same distance run, August the 9th. So if you have any, this is the oldest road race in the Roanoke Valley. Started in 1974. And it's been running continuously, and I'm here to promote it. And so if anybody has a business or yourself that would like to be a sponsor for this event, all sponsorship funds are this year are going to support Preston Place. It's the oldest house in Salem. It's built in 1820. And Preston Place has the distinct feature of having guests as Davy Crockett, Andrew Jackson, and I think it was the French. Yes, back in the 1800s. So anyway, it's got a lot of history behind it. We're trying to garner support and money to keep the house up and running, and also to promote the race. So if anybody knows any businesses or likes to run or has any family members that run, appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Hunter. We had a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Thank you.
You got to stay for 3 o'clock meeting.
Um,